Welcome to the Bridge of Two podcast.
All right, well, welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back to the Bridge of Two podcast. Good to have Jeremiah back on the podcast
I am
here.
so glad to be back. I actually have not listened to that episode yet, but I think I might if
It's pure gold.
depending on what I have going on tonight. I think I might end up throwing it on, listen to it while I play a game or something.
Yeah, I mean, at least the beginning. It's definitely super spoilers for Over the Garden Wall. If you plan on watching it.
I do, but I mean, I don't mind. It's not something that I'm like, oh, I can't, no spoilers.
Okay. Yeah, check it out then. Actually starts off, the very beginning of the episode starts off, we were talking about, we were like wrapping up a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek kind of joking conversation about flat Earth.
Oh no.
So it kind of starts off kind of.
Yeah, I'm assuming you guys are talking about how the flat Earth is real, right? And the four corners and the ice wall and.
I was talking about how even if somebody could prove to me the Earth was flat, I would be like Puddle Glum in the silver chair. I'd be like, I will live as if there's a round Earth, even if.
Oh, so you're the problem.
It's like I will not believe it. Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah. Yeah. Jonathan Giacomo literally was
It's
talking
wild.
about the ice wall.
I do think oh man, I went down a rabbit hole once about watching like videos on YouTube of like people trying to prove that the Earth is flat and like all their tests that they use to prove like absolutely backfire and prove that the Earth is actually round, and it's just all these different things, and it's the most hilarious content to watch in my opinion.
I think you showed me one of those where they're like, if the Earth is round, and they're like looking through this hole or something, and
Yeah, I probably saw. Yeah, there's so many out there, just so funny.
it's like this their live reactions of it like not working were just amazing.
It's hilarious. But anyway, if you're a follower and you believe flat Earth, good for you. Hope you're enjoying that life. To each their own.
Whatever makes your world go round.
Wait, that's
Sorry.
that's offensive.
Trigger warning. Well, so what you been up to on your fantasy sci-fi life?
Oh man, I wish it was more fantasy and sci-fi than it really is right now. But actually, it's a decent bit. Not gonna lie. I started playing New World Eternum. We just kind of talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
For those who don't know, New World is pretty much Amazon Gaming's like big MMO that they pushed out a couple years ago. Had a horrible launch. Kind of has been off and on meh. And they just did like a relaunch kind of with consoles. I personally enjoyed the game when I picked it up and played it. It just scratched an itch for me. There's a lot of crafting and like, I don't know, the feeling of going out and like mining and cutting down trees and like collecting all the resources to craft just scratches an itch that I don't normally have. But for some reason that game is it's just enjoyable to go and sit down and play for a bit. The setting is cool. All the weapons that you can use. It's not like it doesn't have like a class system. It has like weapons, and you can level up your like the type of weapons. So if I use like great swords, I level up my great swords, and I get different skills just like that. You can equip 2 different weapons. And the setting's just cool. So yeah, I've been playing that. That's been a lot of fun. It's definitely leaps and bounds from where it was. They've did a lot of quality of life things, but it's just been fun to play. Hopefully play it with my brother and then Caleb a little bit, and hopefully you eventually get it.
Hopefully I buy it.
I don't think it's probably like $30-$40.
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't like a crazy full price amount at launch, so maybe it's still.
It was $40 at launch. I'm sure they released it for the same. But yeah, so that's been fun. I've been playing that. I also started playing Dragon Age Inquisition again. You ever play the Dragon Age games?
Inquisition's the only one I've played.
Really? Have you beaten it?
Yeah, I love it.
Those games are...
I love it.
Man,
the music's great.
Those games are so good. That is like some really good fantasy RPG.
Yeah.
The world is really cool. The setting, all the No, that's one of those games I actually really enjoy. Like when I pick up like a text-in game, I actually like to sit and read them.
Same.
Like
Yeah, I didn't skip conversations in that game.
yeah, like oh, conversation with companions. And the other game, like Dragon Age Origins, man. If you liked Inquisition, I highly recommend picking up Origins. You could usually get on sale for like $5.
Didn't they remaster it not too long ago?
No.
Or was that? Oh, okay.
No, not yet. I think there's rumors that it's gonna happen.
They will. They will.
They need to. I mean, it is still to this day considered one of BioWare's best RPGs, if not like just one of the best RPGs out there. It's definitely different combat than like Inquisition, like gameplay wise. It's definitely more of a click and it'll attack and.
Oh, okay. Like
Well,
not KOTOR.
Yeah, KOTOR is exactly what it's like.
Okay. Interesting.
But the RPG elements, the story is phenomenal. The world building is phenomenal. But so I've been playing Inquisition because the new Dragon Age is about to drop. I think at the end of this month, in like 5 days
Right.
or 7 days.
Yeah, it's soon.
Dragon Age Veilguard, and I do love those games. There's a lot of weird controversy with it right now of like it might be crap or they might be pulling in whatever, like politics and yada yada yada. And some people are mad at the change in art style and blah blah blah. I think it looks really cool. I want to give it a try, but the thing is I never beat Inquisition, let alone its DLCs. And that's apparently important for the story of the new game.
Oh, I never did any DLC with Inquisition. I don't
I
think.
think it's the Trespasser DLC. One of the big DLCs is like actually very important for the story. It's actually considered the actual ending to Inquisition,
Oh wow.
I think.
Huh.
And I enjoyed playing Inquisition. I've played a decent bit of it. I just never beat it. So I've been playing that. I've been playing it on my PS4 downstairs. If like Steph just wants to hang out.
Apparently, I never beat it because I didn't beat the DLC.
But yeah, so I'm working through it very slowly, and because I don't plan on getting Dragon Age Veilguard day one anyway. Because I just don't,
Okay. Yeah.
I don't get games day one anymore. They always are kind of crap. I kind of learned my lesson with Jedi Survivor, which I did by day one.
You gotta wait till the first patch.
At least first patch, if not
To
just
stabilize
longer.
it.
If not, just wait till a sale. Because things go on sale so
True.
quickly nowadays too.
True. Yep, you're right.
But yeah, so I've been enjoying that. That game's just fun. Dragon Age is just such a cool world, and the creators really did do a good job of that.
Isn't there a mechanic? I don't know if I haven't played the other ones, but isn't there a mechanic in Inquisition where dragon just shows up? You just start fighting a dragon.
I think so. I don't think it.
I vividly remember just like, oh no, dragon's flying overhead.
Yeah, I think there's just a dragon. Like, yeah, I think they have specific spots that they kind of are in, and if you enter that area, then like, oh, dragon. I don't think Origins is as. It's definitely more like kind of set where the dragons are, but there are dragon fights. I have never played Dragon Age 2, so I don't know about that one. But yeah, other than that, I've obviously been continuing reading Stormlight very slowly. Oh, that reminds me, I got a question for you. Because Steph, I was talking to Steph about it. My wife is obviously reading through, or she's finally reading back through the Stormlight Archive, and we'll finish it this time. I think we finally got her this time.
Yay.
But she mentioned Shallan, and she was talking about Shallan's art stuff. 'Cause she was really confused about how her magic works, and I was like, "Don't worry, so am I." I was like, you might start to understand a little bit more, but just keep going. But she was talking about how Shallan with her drawing, she called her ability to quote unquote take a photograph of people in her mind and then draw it later on. Like how she it's mentioned multiple times where she will look at someone and she says she takes a picture in her head almost.
Yeah.
Steph related that as just being like a form of magic. Did you ever see it that way? I always preferred personally. It's just like no, she's just kind of like an artistic mind. She's got like almost like a photographic memory and can just like take a moment to like expand her visual library with this person.
Well, I think the way I took it, as far as reading it, I took it as she just has a photographic memory. Like that's his, because that's photographic memory is like the way we say it, and so the way they're saying it in the book is, they don't really necessarily have the same terminology as we do. But I feel like there is stuff with her that Brandon has implied is special, and like some of the ways her magic works and things she can do is related to magic, more so than it might at first seem. So there could be something related to that.
Yeah.
I think she has abilities that's more than just radiant for seeing like potential futures, which is a more of a shard thing,
Interesting.
But
yeah, I just thought it was interesting because Stephanie referred to it as like her magic, as like part of her magic system. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to see it, because I definitely saw it as more like she just has a photographic memory. But she's like, no,
right.
This is like fully part of her whole magic thing.
I mean, it's definitely indispensable for how she uses her magic.
For sure,
she wouldn't be able to. So it's like, how do other Lightweavers do it? Because she's got to like draw it.
Yeah, that just comes down to like perception, though. Just like most things are. Like if you perceive a thing to be a certain way, that's just how it is. Like, isn't that a thing with like shard blades, where like people just assume that shard blades are swords, and so that's how they appear, or that's how they are? Isn't that a thing, or is something similar to that? I'm trying to think.
I think the reason shard blades is because, that's the form they were in. I don't know.
Because it's similar to the flame spren, where they're like, I am imagining the flame spren as, or I'm writing down the flame spren as being this tall. Oh, now they are this tall. Because a lot of it has to do with observability. Well, a lot has to do with perception of, like, because remember, spren are supposed to be like a physical representation of our beliefs, or what we perceive and what we think. Like,
like human ideas.
And I think, because Kaladin kind of mentions it too, when Syl finally becomes, spoilers for Stormlight, when Syl becomes a Shardblade, and she turns like a sword over, but then at one point she's like, can't you be like a spear? And she's like, well, yes. I think it's the same thing with like, isn't it sort of a similar concept with like, summoning shard blades, where like it's been so ingrained in society that it takes 10 seconds to summon a shard blade, that's what it is, even though technically you could summon it faster.
Yeah, no, that I remember Brandon saying that the reason it takes 10 heartbeats has to do with the way people think it would, how long it would take, but also you got like Sunlit Man, spoilers for Sunlit Man, where there's a kind of this spren relationship that he has, and he changes it into all sorts of things that aren't weapons because he can't fight. And then there's also spoilers for well, I've already told you this before, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling it because I've told you this before, but he is actually writing this novella. It's coming out, the new novella that's coming out, with what Kickstarter was it? Oh, it's the Words of Radiance one.
Are you talking about the
It's like a Six of the Dusk sequel.
Is this the next secret project that he was doing?
Yeah, it was the secret project. Okay, yeah. So that one,
I didn't know that was the Six of the Dusk one. Wow, thanks for just... No, I was playing.
Did you not?
You might have told me. I don't remember it. I don't care.
I think I told you that was a theory I had. I don't remember if I confirmed it.
You might have said it's a theory. I don't care either way. That's cool. That actually makes me more hyped to read it when it comes out.
Well, he released sample chapters from it years ago.
Okay.
That I read, and there's a character with a shard gun.
Oh, that's right. Yes. I remember you told me about this. Yes.
So that's like another thing with the whole perception of like, if you get outside that, what can you do? Anyway, that goes back to Shaw and her magic system. She's only that way because she perceives that's how she has to do it.
it's a limitation of her own mind. So she has to draw her pictures to get her magic out because she's limited her mind to doing that. Probably because she's just that's just how she personally is. She's so visually minded. She has to see it.
Right.
That's my theory, at least.
But yeah. I think that makes sense. It makes probably makes her illusions more, like, actually better though, because she makes them so vivid first by drawing them. Yeah.
But that's just a theory, a Jeremiah theory. Thanks for watching.
Bridge of Theories. Thanks for listening to the theory.
Name that reference.
I don't know.
Game theory or like movie theory.
Oh.
You ever watch that guy on YouTube?
I don't know if I have.
He retired. Someone else does his channel now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, for real. I actually really liked his stuff. Anyway, yeah, that's about it for me. Oh, dude, real quick though, before we move on, you need to check out a game that's releasing soon. It's called Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
That's very...
It is. I won't go into too much detail, and we can talk about it later. But just you got to watch the trailer that dropped for it. It is a turn-based RPG, like classic, like Final Fantasy turn-based. But man, the art, the visual looks, the art style just looks really cool. It looks like an original idea. Is the biggest thing. The story looks so awesome. It is like just the setting seems really cool. It seems really intriguing. That, and I'm a sucker for turn-based RPGs.
It's turn-based? Okay. Yeah,
but
I just found it. I'm not gonna watch the trailer, but
watch it later. It truly looks really cool to me. Like I'm really this is actually a game I was telling my brother, like I actually might buy this day one.
JRPG, story rich. Yeah. Huh.
It just looks like an original story. Like it just seems like so many things are just, we're on our like 20th Call of Duty and all these things. This seems like just an original story with an original setting. It seems very intriguing, very cool. Definitely give it a check. Check out the trailer.
Yeah, I'll check that out for sure.
But anyway, enough of me rambling on for almost 20 minutes. What have you been up to?
Well, I watched Over the Garden Wall a couple times so far this month.
How long is that?
So, it's a little over an hour and a half because it's 10 minutes and it's 10 minutes and 10 episodes.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
It's actually, I mean, if you can watch it straight through, I think that it's a good way to watch it because the first the first episode is like, okay, there's an overarching thing happening, and then like the next few are kind of like whimsical and there's not a whole lot connecting them except this premise of these boys being lost in the woods trying to find their way home. And then like in the middle of it, like episode 4, you get like more information that kind of like gives you more of the so it's just kind of a good thing to binge anyway. But tomorrow is Liberty Day for those who celebrate.
Oh yeah, I saw you just sent me something in Discord.
Yeah, tomorrow
Liberty Day highlights.
Starting at midnight, Strowman News will have a 24-hour live stream live from the Wall of Martyrs.
Whoa.
So yeah, Helldivers 2.
I like how in the bottom corner it says, for your kids. Liberty Day Pyre. Whack it terminated.
You know what the Liberty Day Pyre is?
It says at the bottom says enlistment. Oh, that's funny. What's the...
You know what the Liberty Day Pyre is like a automaton like robot thing like on fire, but there's gifts in the fire and your kids go and snatch gifts out of the fire.
Wait, there's dissident executions?
Of course. Brought to you by Eagle Sweat.
Orbital bombardment of the moon.
Over 15,000 megatons of ordnance. Yeah, so it's like an in-world... It's like the in-world date that they basically... I watched this video that they're talking about it, and they're talking about this is like the in-world date that they discovered managed democracy. It's like before that it was chaotic,
Down
actual
further,
democracy.
it says surprise dissident executions. It could be you.
Yes, so prepare for that. But you see the synchronized salute and oath of citizenship is mandatory in parentheses.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely give it to the developers, man. They're definitely, they don't take themselves seriously, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, they're doing good stuff right now. Their new approach to buffs and stuff is being well received, and
Good.
they're still kind of continuing it. So, it's been a lot of fun. They're and they're releasing some stuff for this, like a couple of free things, like basically I think it's a couple things from the first Helldivers game, which was very different in that it wasn't a third-person shooter, but a lot of similar ideas in it. But there's like a gun and a armor set that's gonna be released for free for Liberty Day or whatever. So anyway, that's been fun. I've still been playing that, not as much because I've been writing more, but still working on my book, just editing.
Nice. Do I still have the document to your book? Is that a thing that I still have access to?
Yeah, if you had the link, like if you can find the link in your email or something,
I want to redo it.
you can get into it. Yeah, I'm on chapter. I have 4 more chapters to edit, and then I have to write. And then I have to write a couple more chapters. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but like it'd be nice if it was done, and I just need to edit it. But at this point, I feel like I just need to finish editing what I have so that I can have it as refined as possible going into the final chapters. So, as if I make a change in chapter 25 and then I already written if I start writing chapter 30 and then I go back and edit chapter 26, I'm like, oh, I'm going to make this change. It's like, I might as well just do that now and then write them. So, but
that's awesome. I hope you can. I definitely want you to continue on with that. I want to read it. I want to see you get it published. I think that would be awesome.
It would be awesome. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see what happens after I finish it. I'll start to actually think about and explore what to do, how to do that. So.
Because then you can become an author, leave your day job, and come move up here to Raleigh.
Right. That's what it takes. I can just become an author.
Look, a man can hope, right? A man can dream.
I'll have to do some writing retreats and go up to Raleigh.
There you go. The most calming place, Raleigh, North Carolina.
So,
in the fastest growing county in the United States, or third fastest growing county in the United States.
Well, I'll have to come up there so we can collaborate on our,
That reminds me. Remind me to
graphic novel.
Yeah. Okay. Remind me to bring that up again later on. I've been thinking about that.
Okay. Later on,
later on, after the podcast.
Okay. The aftercast.
The aftercast, where we don't record and just continue to talk to each other.
Below the bridge. Under the bridge.
Whoa. That's the bar. Under the bridge.
The bridge bar. Bar of 2.
Heck yeah.
Well, I'm going to wrap up my stuff. I don't know if I have anything else, really. Oh, well, I will just say this. I saw The Wild Robot with my kids.
Was it good?
Ellie and Jack. Very good. Great. I think you'd really like the animation in it.
What I've seen from it, I really like.
It's very, has a painted feel. It's not as stylistic as, the Across the Spider-Verse, the second Into the Spider-Verse movie. It's not that stylistic, but yeah, it's a really beautiful movie and real tearjerker, man. I mean, seriously, if you watch that movie and you're a parent.
Who was I? I was listening to someone the other day talk about it, and they said it was really good.
It is very good. It will probably win. It'll probably win whatever the awards are for animation.
Good. That's good. Yeah, the few trailers I've seen, the animation, every time it comes on, like I see like a commercial trailer for it, the animation just looks very pleasing to the eyes.
Yeah.
Almost that, like that, kind of like you said, the painterly feel, almost kind of like Arcane, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a good comparison, actually. It's Arcane does have some stuff that's a little, where it goes a little more stylistic.
For sure. It's also got its own genre, like it's a fantasy-esque genre, but...
Right.
What's it called again? Wild Robot?
Yeah, the Wild Robot. Mm-hmm. It's DreamWorks. I think people from How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, it just looks so pretty.
Some of the people that worked on that made this. So.
That's right. This is the first trailer I've seen in a while for like a quote unquote children's animation movie that I was like, I want to see this.
Mm-hmm. It's based on a book. And we actually bought the book. I haven't read too much of it to Ellie, but it's a good movie, definitely.
Nice. I'll have to check it out. Maybe Steph and I will watch it together. We could both cry together.
Yeah, you will. You will.
Great.
Actually.
I haven't had a good cry since book 4 of Stormlight Archive.
Oh, don't worry. The last 2 episodes of Rings of Power will help with that.
Oh no.
Maybe.
Oh no. Well, that's a good segue.
There we go.
Man, that was smooth segue that I'm ruining by saying so.
So, y'all did 5 and 6. I know you were watching 5. I guess you got through 6 too.
We got through 5 and 6.
Okay. Well,
we got through it. It was such a slog.
Yeah. Had to bite down.
No, Steph and I are actually
leather.
really liking this season.
Good.
She keeps saying she's getting confused.
Knew I could count on you.
She keeps saying she's getting confused by certain things, but she's been saying that about almost everything that we watch recently, so I think she stops paying attention and then gets confused because she stopped paying attention.
Right. Well, so let's just start on I guess 5 and talk about just kind of go through the different storylines and where they're at, like I kind of like starting with your thoughts because
well, I guess let's just go with the Numenorians, start with them because that's the one that's on my mind the most.
Okay.
Is the stuff with the Numenorians, because with the episode prior to 5 is when the coup kind of happened.
Yeah, there was with the eagle, and Farazan kind of used that confusion to act like he had a better claim or something. Yeah.
The show, so the Numenorians, the writers know how to get me. They know how to get me freaking fired up about something. Because nothing gets me more fired up than 1, crappy politicians, and 2, just sniveling idiots.
Oh, Kemen.
And it's just yeah,
Kemen does a good job of making you hate him.
Just like I corrupt people, and then just like Kemen, you say his name is. He's just just drives me up a wall. Yeah. But it's also like that aspect of like, I don't know. There's just so much going on. The daughter, I always forget his name.
Elendil.
Elendil.
Yeah.
His daughter is an idiot.
Yeah.
And she also makes me so frustrated.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you have this whole thing where like, you know, the queen was kind of that like weird coup kind of happened. But Elendil is very loyal. Do they have a thing going on? Like they obviously have a thing going on. Wait, did that start in season 1?
Yeah. A little bit.
Or was that a thing was that already established, or is that started in season 1?
It started in season. It was like it started in season 1. It was not like already going. It was something that slowly built by the end of season 1. They had a tender moment before they got back to Numenor, and you're kind of like, oh, something's happening here. So.
Okay, that's right. But yeah, so Elendil's obviously his loyalty to her just makes me love him all the more.
Yeah.
He is a really good character. The actor is playing him very well. I really like his character. I like the loyalty. I like the trying to do what's best, but then also standing firm to his beliefs.
Yeah.
Because you even have in that moment where he's just like, "You're the queen, and this is wrong," and she's just like, "But sometimes, even when something is wrong, it could lead to the right things." Basically, it seems like what she's saying. And he still is just like, I mean, he still is like, but no, but you're the rightful queen. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I think that episode 5 really did a lot for. I mean, episode 6 is great. It has some great Numenor stuff in it too, but episode 5 really did a lot for that storyline because up until that point, as far as season 2 goes, I was like, oh, I just feel like it's feeling like they're rushing things too much. It's feeling like things are. It's like not really obvious why things are happening. Somewhat like why people are getting this way and da 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 da. But then episode 5, you get that opening where Farazan is talking about the it's called Tolaresia. It's like this island that it's the farthest point the elves have settled outside of the west. So like any elves that are living in the west, in the Undying Lands, the closest to Numenor they've come is this island called Tolaresia, and you can actually see it, like you said, from the very top, like the peak of Numenor. You can see it if you have a keen eye, and it used to be this thing of a great sight to Numenor because they had so much friendship with the elves, and that's why the western part of Numenor is more loyal to the elves, is because it's closer to that area, and but then now Farazan views it as like this kind of it's like a reminder that immortality is out of our reach, and it's almost like the Valar put it there to taunt us and stuff like that. So you really get this. That's a really important thing for the whole reason that Numenor is going the way it is. It's because of they're jealous about elves' immortality.
Yeah, I noticed it took me a minute to grasp onto it, but like I did start to notice the aspect of like faith. And like because I guess I don't know if it's mentioned, but almost like the old faith, like believing the Valar.
Yeah.
Because obviously you get that scene where is it Kremen? Is that who you said his name is?
It should be Kremen, but it's Kemen.
Kemen. Yeah. Okay. Well, Kremen sounds better. Where he comes in, when they're in this place of prayer, especially it seems like they're praying for the lost. And then Kemen comes in and basically shuts it all down and says, "You're not allowed to be here." Yada yada yada. I mean, it definitely is like that's when it kind of grasped me. Like, oh, this is like also not just like an overtaking of Numenor, but like a complete disbanding of this faith. Like they're trying to like disband this faith.
Yeah, religious persecution.
For sure. And that scene was just heartbreaking.
Yeah, because up until that point, Elendil had been trying to listen to the Queen's wishes and kind of hold back and everything. I mean, whenever they were in whenever Kemen was having the Sea Guard, everyone had to resign because they were too loyal to the Queen. And then, Kemen's like, he's not a captain to anybody, but everybody keeps saluting and like
calling him captain
to Elendil. But Elendil, he tried to kind of say, he's right, and not foment it. And then down there in that shrine, he just loses it because Kemen is just so needlessly cruel to this man of faith.
He loses it completely,
You know.
understandably so. I mean, coming in here, basically being like, you need to shut this all down, and you can't even, like, the guy's, the man of faith, the priest or whatever, is just like, I need to put this away, or the prayers won't be heard, you know.
Yeah.
The souls won't be received, or, you know, whatever he says, and Kevin being like, or picking up the thing and then just smashing it. Like, you know, it once again, it's one of those things that just, like, you definitely, the writers know how to get me riled up, because, like, that stuff like that, like, people, needless stuff like that just gets me riled up. And so, I mean, I'll tell you what, I was, like, about jumping up my seat cheering when Elendil just turned around and punched him in the face. Oh, and then, like, that little battle ensued. And it's just like, I want nothing more than for Kemen to just have the most painful death after what happened, you know, because, you know, you have this battle, and then the, wow, I'm really bad with names. What's the other guy? What's the guy's name under Elendil?
So, yeah, Valandil is, like, Isildur's best friend.
No wonder I'm having such a hard time. They all sound the same.
Yeah.
Valandil.
Valandil.
Yeah, he kind of gets the best of this Kemen guy, because he's, I'm not going to use some words that came to my mind. And almost, you know, sword pointed to his throat and is literally about to probably kill him. And Elendil, you know, stop, don't do this. We can't, you know, get that far. Elendil listens, turns around, drops a sword, and man, this Kemen just jumps back up, stabs him in the back, and then blames this quote unquote uprising on Elendil, and just, I just want this. I want him to have such a painful death.
As soon as he put the sword down, when I was watching, like when I first saw it, I was like, "Don't turn your back on this guy." I mean, he's figuratively a backstabber. He's going to become a literal backstabber.
Yep.
And so that was heartbreaking, and I think in the way that whole episode, you know, really did a good job of making you feel invested in the characters and the portrayals, like, of, I mean, that actor Valandil, he really in this season became this you know, character that you're kind of rooting for and liking and stuff like that. So even though he's not like a major character, it still really hurt.
Well, he was basically became like the second in command almost to Elendil. He was very much his main supporter, very much on his side, and so, you know, if you're rooting for Elendil, you know, this guy who is championing him also just, you know, it becomes very likable.
Right.
Especially in the scenes where, like, you know, he, like in one of the earlier episodes where he comes in and they're the group Farazan and, like, the daughter and all that are plotting, and he comes in and basically just, like, he basically just, you know, stood up. It was like, y'all need to stop doing that, or bad things are going to happen. You know, like, he does become a very likable character very fast, and it's very sad that he met such a fate. It really is.
Right. Yes.
But
Elendil lost a real one.
But it definitely, because prior to, like, the Numenor stuff was, like, interesting, I guess, but, like, it wasn't really till this episode fully that I was like, all right, I'm invested. I think I remember texting you during the episode. I was like, all right, I'm in on Numenor.
Yeah.
Now, to be completely fair, I still don't fully know how it relates to the overarching story.
Right.
Because I don't think it does just yet, or at least I don't see it. But I'm still invested in Numenor.
Right. It's definitely good. It's definitely good that... Well, there's going to be some stuff later on that's, I think, going to make some connections that are going to be more clear. But then I think also just it's important that they do this lay this foundation, like keep this foundation being laid for Numenor, because of some later stuff that'll happen in future seasons. It'll make all that stuff more meaningful. So, but yeah. Trying to think of what else about Numenor in 5.
Yeah, that pretty much was the end of it for 5. That kind of ended. I mean, 5 was very Numenor heavy. I know we see Farazan touching the Palantir at one point in this episode.
Do we? Okay, so he's.
I think the episode might end with that actually.
I know we see it at the end of him do it at the end of episode 6.
I want to say he does it at the end of episode 5 as well, but I could be wrong.
Maybe he was looking. I know he was at one point. He was looking at it.
Maybe that's what
and then
it
you
was.
weren't. And then you weren't sure if he did anything. And then in episode 6, you see him touch it.
Yeah. Not only is he just a piece of crap, but he's also a hypocrite.
Right. He's a politician. That is classic politician to be like, how can I get this person out of the way? Oh, I'll make it look like this. But if I can use the same exact thing to my advantage,
yep.
I absolutely will. You know. So
he's a hypocrite, and not the good kind of hypocrite that Dalinar talks about.
Right, he's not in the process.
He's
in the process of change, but probably not good change.
He's not. Yeah, he's not in the process of good change.
Yeah, actually, maybe he's not. A lot of times hypocrites are just.
Okay, I don't even think he's trying to change. I think he's just a hypocrite.
Yeah, right. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see him doing this stuff because he's definitely a majorly involved in all this stuff in the book too. You know.
Is he?
Oh yeah, he's big time.
That's something I'll hit on real quick. I'm curious because I keep seeing things online. You know, there's always people who are like, "This show sucks" and blah blah blah. There are people who are like saying that it's very inaccurate to the books and all these different things. And like if Tolkien were alive today, he would be so angry and yada. Like how much do you agree with that?
I mean, I don't. I honestly don't know if Tolkien would like anything that's been done.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. He probably wouldn't even have liked the movies, really.
Well, I mean, no, definitely not. No, his son didn't like the movies actually.
Well, his son's wrong. No.
Well, his son did. His son, felt like they were too action movie-y.
That's fair.
And this show actually is the only. The reason Amazon got the rights to the show, they weren't the highest bidder. They didn't have the highest offer.
Really?
They had a slightly lower offer than, I can't remember if it was Netflix or HBO Max. They had a slightly lower offer than the highest bidder, but they were saying that they would give the Tolkien estate a seat at the creative table, basically, and give them some veto power on certain things. Basically, they've said, we want you to tell us if we want you to have a say in the creative process. So the fact that Amazon was willing to bring the Tolkien estate into the creative process, and also they were not trying to retread the movies, they were doing to do stuff in the Second Age, they liked that. So, from my perspective, they almost have more of a stamp of approval from someone on the Tolkien side than the movies did. Now the thing is, it's just because there's a compressed timeline. There are things that are different. There are things that are just going to be not lining up because Elendil wasn't alive the same time as when the Rings of Power were being made. The Rings of Power were made way before, and then the stuff with Numenor happened later, and then you had the Battle of the Last Alliance and stuff that happens later, a little bit later, But so they just want, they want to be able to have all these characters together at the same time, so they're doing it in a more compressed way. But they got the approval of the Tolkien estate to do that. That was the one big ask they needed was, can we do a compressed timeline? And they got the approval of them. So I mean, I don't know. You can always argue about execution, and people certainly do make their cases about how bad things are executed, this, that, and the other, but no, it's not what people make of it mostly,
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm obviously not super into the Lord of the Rings lore. We've gone over this before. But I think with stuff like this, anytime something is adapted to a show, like a book, there is going to be some give and take, and sometimes the give and take is too much, and it makes for not the best show / movie, and sometimes the give and take is fine. Harry Potter movies are a good example, I feel like, because there are obviously some things that had to be taken out, to bring other things in, but they still made phenomenal movies. And you still got the essence of the books. I feel like it's even different, though, with the Lord of the Rings stuff, because a lot of it isn't, like, from what I'm aware, I mean, it's not like a fully contained story. It's more of almost like a history book.
Yeah, well, there's multiple versions. Tolkien you can go read the unfinished tales, and you'll read one version of, like, the history of Galadriel and Celeborn. Basically, there's just multiple versions of the stories, and so the idea that there's canon about these stories, there's like unbreakable canon, there just isn't. When it comes to the only canon that's unbreakable is The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
That's pretty much it.
And that's why I think it's great that they went back to the Second Age, and why I think people need to kind of give them a bit of a break and stop trying to be such sticklers for, well, it's not exactly this, It's just like, I mean, dude,
it's like, which version?
It's a
Silmarillion?
good you're getting angry at something. Just try to enjoy the show. If you don't like the show, that's a different thing. That's if you don't like the story, that's fine. But don't try and argue it from the sense of they're doing it wrong, or the story is not how it was originally.
Right. I just can't take it. I just can't take it when I see people saying stuff like that. These are all just hacks. They don't care anything about Tolkien or anything. That's right. It's like, I've just read so many articles. I've heard so many interviews. These guys clearly are huge Tolkien nerds.
And they're doing a good job, man. Especially, like, season 1 was good. Season 2 is, I'm loving season 2. Like, season 2 is really good.
Yeah. No, they're getting better, I think, honestly. And I think it'll continue to get better because the drama will just continue to amp up, There's a lot of really interesting, exciting things for them to cover. So,
anyway, back to the show.
Yeah. So we talked about Numenor, so let's jump over to, let's go to...
I mean, we talked about the rings.
The ring, yeah.
I mean, that's the other big thing. I mean, the dwarves are in there a little bit, but that ties in a lot with the rings.
Right, yeah. So in episode 5, they are working on... I think they're... Because, like, the end of episode 4 is whenever the dwarves were invited to Eregion. And then... Right? Is that right? And then episode 5 is when they actually go there.
I think they get the rings in episode 4.
I don't think they get the rings episode 4. They get them in... Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe they get them in 4 and...
And then we start seeing the effects in 5, I want to say.
5 is when... Yeah, you're right. I think it's right at the beginning of 5 when they've gotten them. And then the king puts one on pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. The ring stuff is still confusing to me because I'm like, what? I'm just confused. Like, are the rings corrupted? Is Sauron corrupting the rings, or is it just a power thing that's corrupting people? Is it like, what exactly is actually? I feel like it's kind of ambiguous. And, like, everything that Sauron says seems like just a lie.
Yeah.
And I can't tell when he's being... I don't think he's ever being honest.
Right. Pretty much not. It's pretty much either lying or gaslighting.
Phenomenal at gaslighting, I tell you what. Poor Celebrimbor, man. He's getting the work around.
Seriously. Well, so, like, the thing with the rings is, it's very important that the 3 rings were not touched by Sauron, because then he could have somehow influenced them.
So they truly weren't touched by Sauron.
They weren't touched. The only thing he influenced was the idea. The idea of this project is kind of a part of his plan. And so the fact that they made those 3 rings, it will play in later. But as far as like, do the rings have any innate negative quality from Sauron? And they don't.
Okay.
But the 7 rings, Sauron's directly involved in. You can see when they're making the rings. You can see like they're handing the material. I think the mithril. He's holding the mithril, and he's closing his eyes and he's dropping it in. So they're trying to show you that, or like kind of give it away that he's doing something. Okay. He's involved because we all know he's Sauron. So we know that he's up to no good with the rings. And I think too, they go in the books, the 7 rings, they cause the dwarves to get more greedy, but they're not able to corrupt them the same way. But there is a little bit in the show, it does feel like they're a little bit corruptive. Like they do the thing with the ring where it's like almost like whispering and messing with his mind and stuff. So that's a little bit of, I think they're just trying to lean into the idea of like foreshadowing the way the rings will become more and more kind of corruptive to people. So yeah, there's definitely something off with the 7 rings, right? Because Sauron's involved in them.
I just didn't know if it was like he was actively doing something, or it's just his innate nature was corrupting them.
But I think he is
actively doing something. Okay.
Yeah, but they're not having. You see in episode 6, which I can kind of just jump around. You see in episode 6 that he doesn't have the influence on them that he would think. Like they have his rings, but and yet they're because dwarves just are too stubborn to be that heavily influenced. There's no dwarven ring wraiths.
That's true.
That
is something I'm curious to see is who are going to be the 9? Who are going to be the ring wraiths? I'm very curious to see that.
Probably some Numenorians.
Interesting.
Kemen, maybe.
We do also get, like, going back to the doors real quick, we do get a cool little scene with Durin's wife sensing the Balrog, it seems like.
Yeah.
Which was... Because this is Khazad-dûm, right? Where we're...
Yep.
This is where the Balrog is at in the movies. I mean, so
right.
we know this place gets destroyed.
Right. Eventually, yeah.
And obviously it's seeming like they're kind of leading it to where like the continuous digging for deeper and deeper. I mean that goes back just to the movies of they dug too deep.
Too greedily.
That was a really cool thing to see, and like having Durin's wife be the one that kind of sensed the bar, be like, well, we need to not be doing what we're doing,
right? But
for the king to be so greedy, especially after having the ring.
Yeah, it's really heartbreaking too, because I love the king so much. He's such a good actor. He's a good character, just a cool dwarf. And, seeing him from where he was in season 1, where he's this strong, wise, kind of, and cautious ruler, to now he's, like, really pushing the boundaries. He's overriding his own restrictions on digging, and he won't listen, to his son and all these things. And even whenever there's this risk of, like, a nameless evil being awoken, and then it's hard to see.
Even at showing at the end, going to episode 6, the end when Sauron is there trying to get more mithril, and he leaves, and Durin's like, "Oh man, I thought you had completely lost your wits," and he's just like, "He'll be back."
Right.
Like it really does show the contrast between season 1 and season 2 of the King. Of this ring really has corrupted him, but in a greedy way. That's probably also, thinking on it now, like. Talking about how Sauron doesn't have full control over him is probably because he probably didn't realize how much the greed would affect the dwarves.
Right.
Greed ultimately take over, and it's not necessarily that Sauron doesn't have influence, but greed has more of an influence because he's still willing to give this stuff to the Mithril to Sauron, but for
Right.
a better price. That scene was cool too because you have Sauron. It seems like he sensed the Balrog as well,
Right.
which is really.
And he's
really
basically just like, nah, they'll take care of themselves.
That'll settle itself out in time.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a cool. Anything the Sauron stuff, man. He is. I mentioned this multiple times. This after watching these 2 episodes, it's just like he is. They are really showing well him being a master manipulator, man. The way he is just dancing around Celebrimbor and getting him to do what he wants.
Yeah, I loved in, I can't remember if it was 5 or 6, but I think it was 5. It was 5. Whenever, Sauron's, they finished the 7 rings, and Celebrimbor's like, I'm good, we're done here, and Sauron's like, no, we need 9 for men, and Celebrimbor's like, no, we really shouldn't, we're not going to do it, and then Sauron's like, okay, don't worry about it, I'll do it myself, and so then it's like, okay, and then later on, things are going wrong with the ring making. Mordania, that one elf, she's like invisible, and she's seeing weird things and stuff like that. And then so Mordania starts talking about, oh, well, we did this with the rings, because we thought maybe we needed to strengthen them with more mithril. And he's like, no, you can't do that. And then he just about starts to give some advice about it. And then just like, it's like the hair on the back of his neck stands up, and he looks and he sees Anatar, just like hungrily listening and waiting for him to, and then he goes, oh, if you just give us this one piece of advice. And I when I saw that, I was like, with Aaron, I was like, oh my word, he has so masterfully manipulated this whole thing to make it so that if Celebrimbor doesn't help him, he's like putting his smiths in danger and stuff like that, because like it was just such a cool moment to see how he had,
but then also using the opportunity too, because it seems like he was kind of surprised when the girl Smith said that she saw a flaming figure. It almost seemed like he was like, oh, which honestly might possibly allude to maybe how the One Ring gets created. But
yeah, and
then just being like quickly pivoting, being like, he's been under a lot of stress and he's got this anger inside of him, and like pointing to that being Celebrimbor.
Right.
I mean, just masterfully done. I mean, truly everything that he says is just. I mean, even using because like when Durin approaches Celebrimbor about the rings being corrupted somehow, and then even pointing it to Anatar being part of the problem. Durin's like catching on real fast. He's like, this Anatar guy ain't it. Mm-hmm. But then having Celebrimbor approach Anatar about it, and Anatar being like, no, it was us. Like our, your disobedience to your king. And then using that to lure him into creating the 9 to perfect something, which that kind of went over my head a little bit. But just he's so good at also just using the things that are happening around him to further his plans, because obviously most of what's happened he couldn't plan for, but he's like, all right, well, I'm just gonna use it.
Right. Yeah. He's very adaptable, and very fluid with the situation, and because whenever you're that much, when you're a manipulator and you're so sold out to just getting what you want by any means necessary, you can be flexible, because you can just be like, okay, how can I turn this? It has nothing to do with the truth or the consequences. It's just how can I make this happen? And so it's definitely. But then you have like, I think it's maybe it's the end of episode 5, whenever you see like Celebrimbor, like how he's barely kind of hanging on. Like he's kind of losing it. He's like shaking, and he's he knows that he's in over his head,
Mm-hmm.
but he feels like he can't go any. He feels like he can only go one direction, and that's further into the maelstrom, as Sauron says.
Sauron really did just back him into a corner.
Right.
He got him to disobey his king and got him to this point where he does feel like he's backed into a corner and he can only go forward. Yeah, I don't know. It's so cool how they've done it, how they've made Sauron truly to be this master manipulator. And it's just almost just completely broken down Celebrimbor.
Yeah.
Man, and then at the end of episode 6 too, the very end, we get this like insane display of power from Sauron.
Yeah.
Where Celebrimbor is, obviously this army is about to attack. You have the orcs lining up, their catapults going, people are running around screaming and whatever in Eregion. And Celebrimbor is like, I gotta go outside and go see what's happening. And Sauron, you just see him close his eyes, and then it pans to Celebrimbor walking outside, and everything's shining, and everyone's happy, and everything looks all good. I mean, I saw that, and Steph and I both were like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Because that's like the first big display of power I feel like we've seen from Sauron. He's been very subtle with his power, other than like the first episode of season 2 where he's like, a goo monster and then, forms into a person.
Right.
But like this was like a truly showing it like what Sauron can do.
Mm-hmm.
It was just really cool to see.
Well, it goes back to kind of Gil-galad, the High King, earlier in this show, talks about if Sauron gains a being's trust, he has the ability to sculpt their very thoughts. It's like because Celebrimbor has given, almost like a vampire, he's invited Sauron into his confidence and his trust and all these things, so he has this greater power over him that he can exert, and truly is a amazing time to do it. Not just like, he's just like, he's just manipulating him and he's using illusion. It's like, no, literally there's a siege happening and it's like the polar opposite is happening, and he thinks it's just another day in Eregion, just another day in paradise.
Yeah, not so much.
But not so much. But and then you have he gives him mithril. But we know he didn't get any mithril from the dwarves.
Yeah, how?
So what is he using?
Or how did he get it? Maybe he did get it.
Or how did he get it?
I guess hopefully we'll find out in the next couple episodes.
Yeah, so that storyline's definitely a goodie.
I feel like every storyline is really good this season. Like once the Numenor stuff picked up, I mean, I'm like okay with it. The only storyline I'm still just kind of like, is the whole the stranger stuff. I'm like, I mean, like I don't. We're so separated from everything going on. The Harfoots are annoying.
Yeah.
I'm like, it was cool to see Tom Bombadil. I'll give him that. But
what'd you think of? There's not much with them in these 2 episodes, but you do have this test that's kind of been put before the stranger. He's got to choose. Like, he's got this feeling that he's gonna have to go. He needs to go save Nori. Like, something's gonna happen. She's gonna die. But then Tom Bombadil seems to be like, no, you need to pick your staff, and then like make sure you make the right choice. I don't know if did any of that click with you or make sense, or?
I mean, yeah, just like that aspect of that. Is there supposed to be something deeper going on there?
No, it's not like anything you're missing or anything. I just was curious for your reaction on it.
It's just one of those things. Where it's just like, I don't know. I feel like he'll probably end up just going to try to save Nori. I could be wrong. It would be a nice subversion of expectation if he does it. If he tries to stay to find his staff.
Just walks around looking for his staff.
It's a whole 40 minutes. It's just a stranger going up to trees saying, "Are you my staff?" And then nothing happens, and he moves to the next one. I'd watch it. I'd sit and watch 40 minutes of that. Why not?
Just shrugs every time.
Yeah.
Well,
all right. On to the next one.
Nori.
It clips every couple minutes to Nori screaming in pain. No, I feel like he'll end up just leaving and going. He might try for a couple, and then they get frustrated and go try to save Nori. Is my feeling.
This sucks.
But it's just like I don't know. Once again, it's just like it just seems so disconnected from everything else.
Yeah.
And obviously, we know that the Stranger, at least in Lord of the Rings canon, he, as far as Mori, doesn't fight. Because Tom Bombadil said, like, you need to find your staff to fight against Sauron. But, like, that's not what happens. Sauron's destroyed by Isildur. Well, to an extent.
Yeah. Well, it depends on who this stranger is, because
The Stranger is Isildur from the future. Time traveling. Oh, man. I don't know. I just, like... I'm having a hard time staying invested because it just seems so distant from everything else. Like,
yeah.
Numenor seems distant, but they also did a good job of hooking me with that's own storyline.
Yeah.
And then I can also see how it'll connect. But
some people really do like the hobbits in the show. I mean, I don't mind them. I like the Stranger more on that side of the, between the two. I'm more invested in the Stranger, and I like Tom Bombadil, and it's like kind of fun seeing like a wizard boot camp kind of happening with Tom Bombadil. That's a cool concept. So, and definitely rewatching it and knowing some of the stuff happens later, I enjoyed it. Rewatching it in preparation for this, I enjoyed it more.
My thought could completely change in the next episodes if something more comes of it. It's just like, as of right now, I'm just like, when it cuts to that part, when it cuts to the Stranger stuff, I'm like, I want to go back to Sauron or Numenor or
right. Well, the stakes are more. The stakes are more built in. Like we understand the stakes more for what's going on in the other storylines. It's you don't really understand the stakes for like what's happening in the East as much.
Yeah, I can definitely see the Stranger thing being a long game.
Yeah, and I think it is. I think
even to the point of having more payoff, like in like later seasons.
Yeah, I think the Stranger's character, I think he's going to intersect more with some of the other storylines. I at least I would expect he will. In the future, but who else did we need to touch on?
Nothing really happens with the Stranger. In these two episodes, he was in it very little.
Right.
I know you have the scene with.
There's no Isildur. No Isildur in these.
No Isildur, which is upsetting. I like Isildur. He's definitely one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
He's grown on me. I like the actor. But we do get an interesting couple scenes with Galadriel.
Oh right. Yes.
And Adar. Adar.
Right. Yeah.
Which it seems like Adara was just playing her.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting, and what I think is great because I know a point of contention that people had, and I was a little worried about it, during the first season, was that they're gonna make Galadriel just this like girl boss who's like can't fail.
Right.
I mean, she just got played like a fiddle.
Right.
By Adar, and just like right into his trap and gave him information.
Well, she's trying to. I mean, she sees she's having a change. Her character's changing a little bit here because in the first season, she's so contemptuous of him, and she is a little bit in the episode where she's talking to him. She's a little contemptuous of him, but she does see that they have the same goal, and she's willing, like she's in good faith trying to work with him. She's giving him this information and saying, hey, you've told me your plan and I'm telling you this is how we can make it work. But Adar just doesn't believe that the elves can work with him and not backstab him, I guess, or backstab the orcs or whatever,
which is fair. Adar is a very interesting character. Where like he's a bad guy, but you almost kind of feel sympathetic for him.
Yeah.
Like, because it does partly seem like he just wants to have his own kingdom and kind of be free. I mean, the reason he's in Eregion is because of Sauron.
Yeah, I mean, if he hadn't heard, if he didn't think Sauron was back, they'd still be there, you know, which...
Well, then you even get the orcs who are like, I mean, should we even be doing this? Like, we have our place. Let's just go back to our place and live.
Right.
They almost become a little, like, kind of sympathetic.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you don't get that as much in the books, but it's there. You know, the origin of orcs. There is like a sympathetic, somewhat of a sympathetic angle to the origin of orcs being like tortured elves and stuff, and the fact that, you know, like in this case, it's like, I mean, Galadriel basically says it. It's like, you're doing what Sauron wants. Like, Sauron must want this. He doesn't have an army. He can't sack Eregion. But you've brought the army to him. And at that point, it's rings too true in Adar. You know, it's like, somebody get her. I don't want to hear. I don't want to think about this, because I just want to. He's so he's like come too far, and he's so bent on, like, I've got to kill Sauron and like get rid of him forever. And so I'm just gonna not think about that, you know.
Yeah. It leaves me really excited for the next episode. I was like, I better see some Helm's Deep level action coming up.
Yeah, the next 2 episodes, you know, go hand in hand. So it's a good two finale. Yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to hear what you think. It's definitely, you got a lot of fighting, a lot of battle stuff happening. I'll be interested to hear what you think of how it compares, and sort of, there's some maybe subversion of some things and stuff in it too. So I'll be interested to hear what you think of it.
Interesting.
But,
yeah, no, we do get the ending of the episode is you just get Sauron standing on the parapets and he's just smiling. You can tell this is what he wants to happen. It's all falling into place.
So there's a little fun fact that in the Amazon app, when you finish an episode, there's like an Inside the Rings of Power, like little mini, that's like 8-9 minutes, where it's like an interview with some people and some behind the scenes stuff from each episode. And so the composer actually composed the music to amplify when Sauron's raising his hands, because he's like standing up at one point, like on watching his handiwork, and kind of he raises his arms as if he's like conducting an orchestra. And the music, if you listen to it at that point, the music actually gets louder when he does that, as if he's conducting the soundtrack.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's kind of a cool little touch. I would pay closer attention to it this time when I was watching it.
Yeah, when I do a rewatch, I'll have to pay attention. It's always cool when composers and stuff like that like add stuff into their work or into the soundtrack, stuff like that. It's just cool when everything works together like that.
Yeah, it's definitely like everything, you know, all the stuff with Sauron and Eregion and Celebrimbor, like all of that is just firing on all cylinders. You know, the music and everything. So definitely be fun to talk about those final 2 episodes coming up.
I really can't wait for this finale. I think it's going to be good.
It will be something.
Uh-oh.
Well, anything else jump out you that you want to say about it?
No, we hit most of it.
I think so.
Oh, you know what? No, we didn't, because we cut off
what?
The gigantic water monster.
Numenor. Oh yeah, we have to finish up Numenor.
Oh my gosh, dude, that hit me in like the deep recesses of my fears, man. Deep oceans, like unknowable. Oh gosh, man, like well, first of all, it was just, I love how Elendil was just so ready to just be like, yep, I'm gonna do this.
Right.
He's like, I'm gonna stand up for what I believe, even with his daughter begging and pleading. Which screw his daughter. I'm just gonna continue to say that it's all her fault. She's an idiot. I don't even know why she did what she did, but whatever. Sitting there begging for him to stop, he's just like, no. And if you can't understand that, then
We have nothing else to
we
talk
have nothing left to talk about. I mean, and then she even tries to bring in freaking the queen, and even to her, he's like, no. Like, I have to stand by what I believe and stand in by.
Yeah.
But then they come and have her. Now, this is one of the things where it's just like, I know what was going to happen as soon as it started going down this path, but I still enjoyed it, which is like when she came, like, I'm going to take your place.
Right.
And I was like, all right, well, she's not going to die. You know. And, you know. And so she does. She jumps in, but we get this terrifying image of the deep ocean and this gigantic Leviathan monster grab her with his tentacles and just like stare at her and scream, and then releases her. Terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
You know what I thought of when I saw on this rewatch? I thought of Shallan. You remember in spoilers for, I think it's Words of Radiance.
We're just spoiling all of them today.
You remember when she goes in the water? There's like the great shell.
Oh yeah.
In the water.
Xanthid?
Xanthid, yeah. She goes in the water and she's literally like right up close to its eye. It's very similar to what happened. Only I don't think she was all the way submerged.
She wasn't, and that one also seemed a lot more friendly.
Right. But it just reminded me of it because she's just under the water and you get the close up of the eye looking at her, and I was like, this reminds me of Shallan. But
I did have a thought too with the queen. Where it's almost like what I'm kind of seeing is like, and this may not be how it's intended or not, but when you're tested in that with the Leviathan, I almost feel like the Leviathan's going to see how you react to its image.
Right.
And she's blind, so
exactly.
she can't see.
She can't react in fear.
She can't react in fear, and so it's almost like it deemed her worthy because it didn't react in fear.
Yeah. I thought of that too when I saw it too. It's like, I wonder how much her like not being able to see helps her here. You know.
I mean, it definitely helps her. It would help me if I couldn't see that. Oof.
Right.
I do. I have like a deep fear of like the ocean and like things unseen and unknown in it.
You're a lifeguard.
I know. You know how many times I've had to just squash that fear swimming out? Oh, dude. Like, no joke. I have swam faster during certain situations because I'm like, I can feel the fear rising in me about what might be swimming below me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Jeremiah, the sea is always right.
It is. The sea is always right, and it will kill you real fast, and a lot of different things in it.
Yeah. But not Muriel.
Nope.
Not this time.
It deemed her worthy.
What'd you think of the end when, Elendil's like, "Hail, Muriel, Queen of the Sea," and everyone starts cheering, chanting.
I'm just curious to see what's going to end up happening because, that's going to cause an issue in the city between Pharazôn and the Queen again.
Right. It's like,
because like the eagles are cool, right? But like, she was deemed worthy by a Leviathan monster. I think she wins.
Right. Right. It's like the eagle wasn't going to kill her.
If I had two people and one was like, yeah, an eagle kind of flew up and it might have been for me, it might not have been for me, but I'm going to say it's for me. And then I had another one which was like, yeah, I was deep into the water and pulled under and grabbed by a Leviathan monster that screamed at me and then it let me go and deemed me worthy. I'd be like, I'm all for you. Like, let's go.
It shot me out of the water.
And
it was like, not today.
I'd be like, cool, all right, Queen, let's do it.
Yeah.
Screw
Right.
this guy.
I think that's what it's meant to do, is to kind of keep this tension. There's still going to be, it still makes her appear like she has some legitimacy, so it hurts his, and that's whenever you see Pharazôn go, that's whenever he goes to look at the Palantir, because he's kind of like, okay, I need an edge.
Yeah.
And then he sees Halbrand. And I think he's realizing, I think it basically is saying that he realizes that Halbrand was Sauron.
Hmm.
Because he looks really mad after, I thought, when he was done.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I can see that.
But we'll have to see in the next episode what all that means.
Can't wait.
We did. I hate to do this again, but what did you think of Disa summoning bats with her voice? Remember they were going to come and dig, and they're like, we got to stop them.
It was just a cool... I was indifferent about it.
Okay.
It was cool. I mean, we've already seen that she's able to echo her voice through it. I just saw it more of like echoing her voice through the tunnels and calling, bats to use echolocation and stuff like that.
They do.
I think.
They do.
Not a bat expert over here, but... Or am I?
Disa is.
Apparently. Steph said something. I don't remember what it was, but I go, nah, she's Batman. Steph loves Durin and his wife.
Yeah.
She's like,
They're
I'm
great.
all for him. She's like, I want them to win. Whatever.
They're great. And I actually really, that was one thing, just like one more thing to say about them. I just thought that the conversation between them, right before they made that decision to do that, where, his dad just is still an office rocker, but he makes him a prince again, and then he goes back to Disa, and she's basically saying, we've got to, basically show the whole, country that he's not fit to be king, and and Durin's just like, I can't do that. That it was just such a real moment of, the pain of, seeing that you're kind of losing this person that you love, but you still see them, and so it's a very real moment.
It's great to have this married couple in the show that is a good example of a married couple. They talk to each other, they're open with each other, they listen to each other, they're for each other.
Right.
You don't see it too often in modern TV, especially modern fantasy TV. Where you have your traditional married couple that is just for each other.
Right.
And it is very nice to see, and I think that's why Steph gravitates towards them, and I do too. I want to see them succeed and always do good, and even when they have any issue pop up, most of their scene time is them having conversations together, or Durin being vulnerable with her, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, so many of their scenes are in their house, in their kitchen, which is a very relatable.
I love it. It's great. I love their characters for sure. Which is interesting because I didn't think I was gonna like her as a character, or not that I wasn't gonna like her more. I just felt like I was gonna be very indifferent about her. I don't really care, but I've actually grown to really enjoy her character.
She's one of the best, if not the best, original character.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and she fits in seamlessly too.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. Well, I think we officially can call it.
I hope everybody enjoyed this very jumbled talking of episode 5 and 6.
We made it all the way around.
I always try to, when I watch these episodes, to write down things as they come up in my phone and my notes so that I can have a bit of a layout.
Yeah.
And just reminder of things. Because, I watch stuff, I remember it, but, sometimes I need, a reminder to, oh, yeah, that's right, this happened this episode. Especially with all that crap that goes through my brain on a daily basis. But I noticed halfway through episode 6, I was like, I haven't written a single thing down. Which was good, because it meant I was very invested in the show.
Right.
But I was just like, I wonder how this episode's going to go when we talk about them.
I bet you won't have much. You won't write much down for 7 and 8, too. Probably.
Probably, unless I actively think about doing it prior to,
right.
Which I probably won't. But because I probably won't watch it until 2 weeks from now, right before. Because I like to watch it right before we record.
Right.
So it's still fresh in my mind. But anyway.
Well, good talk.
Yeah, it's been fun as always.
Yeah. Well, as we say, this has been the Bridge of Two podcast. The far, far away bridge.
You do.